So this is being recorded now. Well, good afternoon. This is another one of our informal, and I really do like to keep them that way, webinars. This one concerns winning entanglements, and I have only 5 or 6 slides. I really want to go over it, summarize it. Some of you are relatively new to it, others aren't. Oh, I do see a hand already. Okay, Monica, do you have a question? You know, Monica had her hand, and I don't seem to be able to unmute her. I don't know what happened to that. Yeah, you're trying also. You're going to have to use the chat box, Monica, until we can figure out what happened here. It says attendee is self-muted and can't be unmuted by organizer. Okay, so you need to unmute yourself, Monica, if you want to talk.
That's what that gray slash is.
Okay, and you just, now you're muted again, but you can unmute yourself anytime you want. Okay, so this winning entanglements is really defined so that we can apply, it's designed so we can apply precognition for maximizing. And it's kind of important to get this because, I mean, it's truly, over the years, it's been designed for the long term and to maximize this winning wagers hit rate percentage over the long term. The philosophy which goes along with this for the long term, you know, we've done lots of things for the short term, but when you get into the long term, it becomes really important to realize that what you are doing is working with what I call communication skills. You're sort of just by doing it and watching and paying attention and wanting to improve over the long term, as you apply this, you're doing communication. Communication implies 2 separate sort of entities that you're seeing as being separate, and they're communicating. One of them is this now moment consciousness. Right now you're hearing my voice. This is your now moment. You know, your eyes are probably open and you're seeing what you're seeing. Each of you has your own personal now moment consciousness. What you are communicating with is your submerged consciousness. There's stuff that you're not conscious of right now, but you know you have it. Memories are a good example of that. But the subconscious, the subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, the higher mind, it's got all kinds of words associated with it. But that's a part of you. And it's the communication between this now moment and this subconscious mind, the subconsciousness, that is the communication which we do in precognition, because it is the subconscious mind that has access to past, present, and future. It seems to. It does. We know it does. Anybody that's been around this for a while has done sessions themselves where there's no doubt that you're picking information up from some source like the subconscious mind that you're connected to. Just important to get that, because that philosophy is the magic, I think, of all ARV, but we as well, and maybe we in particular, in my opinion. Okay, now, understanding this intellectually is like, I don't think any of us can help spending time doing it. You know, as a scientist, I spend a lot of time doing it, thinking about it, trying to understand it with my intellectual side. But especially when you're in the midst of doing it and getting ready to do it, set all that aside. And even most of the time, it seems to me, you don't have to try too hard to understand it, because it really turns out to be very simple if you just do it one step at a time. And that's what I want to show you here. Step one is your viewing. Now, you will be getting 2 coordinates, okay? You're tasking, you have 2 tasks. Describe and sketch your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, feedback target, and then you'll have a second coordinate. Why do we do 2 coordinates? Well, it enhances 2 things. One is just the learning, because you're doing 2 of them. But the primary reason is to give you a kind of a consensus just within yourself. You have 2 chances to get 2 good transcripts. Now, 1 is going to be very, very nice. 2 is even better. And when you do your analysis and judging, it just fits together, in my opinion, better than just doing 1. In the standard ARV, you would have 1 coordinate. You would still do a comparison, or the judge would, but it doesn't seem to matter in terms of things like displacement, has to compare the 2 pictures. We takes the philosophy, since there are 2 sides to the wagers, let's have 2 coordinates. One is going to be associated with up, say, the other with down, and then the second one is going to be vice versa. At the very beginning, this association is made, but it's hidden from the viewer. But it is made. Okay? So that is important to understand. So the association with the up or down move of, say, a 4x pair is made with this coordinate in a random fashion, but it is hidden. It's even hidden from everybody for a while. It's done by the computer. Now, step 1, just knowing the coordinate, you do your remote viewing. I recommend people say the coordinate out loud, but everybody has their own style. I recommend saying the coordinate out loud here, because you can also then say the coordinate out loud at feedback, so it acts as a kind of a beacon. You do your transcript for the first coordinate. I recommend taking a break of some sort, take some time in between, maybe even an hour later, the next day, but you're the viewer. The viewer is in charge. You do your second remote viewing with intention, attention, expectation of having it match the feedback target, because that's your task. So step 1, you're doing 2 remote viewing sessions. Step 2 is now the judging. And after you submit both of your transcripts, and this is all done online, you now change your hats and you start doing your judging against your 2 transcripts. we takes the point of view that self-judging not only works just as well as independent judging. We've seen displacement and all those sorts of things. In both cases, the subconscious has access to everything. We encourage people to do self-judging. We think it is better for you. It is better for the long-term learning if you get to see and act as your judge and go through the whole process yourself. So you now do the judging. What does that mean? What that means is you now have done your 2 transcripts and your viewing. You will see online what is called the winning side target. If you remember, we have the 2 coordinates. One of these 2, depending on what happens to the Forex trade, will be the winning side. If it goes down, this coordinate would be the winning side. If it goes up, this coordinate would be the winning side. You do not know now. However, you do know that this is going to be the picture. So what do? You judge it. You take this and you look at it against this transcript. So what do you think? Structure? Yeah. White? Red? Blue in the background? Is that brown or black? I don't know. What would you give it? You make up your mind. You then look at your other transcript against the winning side target. Okay. White, wind, oh, that's nice. Red, movement, people, water. So maybe this one is a bit better. However you do your judging, based on your transcripts, looking at your sketches here, well, maybe that looks a lot like a sail. Maybe that looks like the red thing here. You're going to have to make the decision. Judging is a critical part of this. When we get really, really good at this, and these turn out to be on the confidence scale 6s or 7s, judging becomes really easy. That's your objective. And as you do judging, you're going to learn what it is you wish you had done for the next time. That's why this sort of all fits together. But let's just say you decided that for the winning side, so this is what it will show online. For the winning side, for coordinate 1, 2, 3, 4, you want to give this a 3. For 6, 5, you want to give this a 4. Terrific. You've now judged it on the winning side. But similarly, you need to now look, and this will be sent to you in an email, the other side. So the other side target, which is now sent to you via email, and we do that to keep it separate. We do what we can to minimize displacement. But the subconscious has access to everything. But you, with your intention, is going to associate it with one or the other of these in terms of the other target, which you're going to know about, of course, at feedback time, and you knew about it at remote viewing time. So all of this is going to work out just right. You look at this one, structure, yeah, even white, yeah, red, blue, oh, look at that, red, white, and blue, brown, very strong rectangle here, a lot of rectangles. Okay, so you judge that one. Then you go to 654. White, well, yeah, there's white. Don't see any wind. Yeah, I see red. No motion. No people. No water. So you certainly give that one a lower one, like a 2. So notice 654 for the other. I gave it a 2. Hey, this one got a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gave it a 5. I mean, the structure, white, red, blue, white, brown, look pretty good. Whatever you give it. That's step 2. You do your judging. A very, very important, very educational. here, as a judge, you now do have access to the side. Only your group manager has access to the up and down. And you want to tell him in the comment box, which you have, and there's a personal prediction that you make. Both of these are optional. These are not optional. These are optional. But they're really very important. And you will have access to the comment box later. So we really would like you to talk to your group manager. Why did you give this a 5? Why was that so strong? Why was that unambiguous, unique, matchable elements that were here? Put that in the box. And then looking at this, you make your own judgment. Notice the 5 is for the other. Okay, so that means if this will be indicated as side 1, coordinate 1, but that means it is supportive of this side for the winning side. So here, these are supportive of each other, because if you know the other side, for sure, let's say this was really strong and you felt really good about it, then you know that coordinate 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is in fact the winning side. So in this example, we get support. Here the winning side was higher than this one. It's a 4. And the other side's a 5. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to be the other side. Therefore, that is supportive for the winning side. Step 3, here's your feedback. Your feedback now is the truth point. The game is over, the Forex trade is over, and in this example, the winning side actually turned out to be up. The Forex moved up on that day. We hit our limit. Went up. Okay, so let's just imagine it went up, whatever, 40 pips, whatever, in this example. Well, once we know the outcome, for the first time, I now know which coordinate is the winning side. Because remember back here, we set this for up. Okay, so I now know 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the winning side for sure. The judge knew about that relationship, and notice it predicted 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as the winning side. So we got ourselves a nice hit here. And here is now the association you will see online. The winning side target is the same as before. We always knew that was the winning side target. What we did not know is that until now in linear time is that 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is in fact the associated with the winning side. And now similarly, once we know that, then we know the other one has to be the other side. Okay, I've gone through this, and now you do your feedback session, and of course your feedback session is extraordinarily important because this is the truth. When you said 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 out loud, now you do your feedback session. You say it out loud again. As you're looking at this, all of this now hangs together. You notice how good this was. Oh, look at all those words that match. Maybe some didn't. Okay, hey, you're not 100% yet. You might add, and I do this on the transcript, a few other things that you wish you had done, you know, just to let your sub know, hey, it'd be nice if you had added maybe a little more. Or maybe you're perfectly happy. And then you do the same thing with the other side. You have 2 chances here. This one was a standard remote viewing session. It give yourself credit where credit is due, and then indicate maybe I could have done a little better, and you might do a little sketch on your transcript. There's places for comment boxes, and you're done with the feedback session. But very important to be open and have the sense that you're connecting up with your remote viewing sessions. Now, I took a long time to do this, but actually one of my points was that this is really very simple. 1, 2, 3. You do each step, and it becomes very simple. In fact, are there any questions in this? Questions, comment? I have really only one more thing I want to do, but no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm starting to take the feedback more seriously than I did, and I like the idea of repeating the coordinate. I was not doing that in my feedback session, saying it out loud. I was just comparing my transcript to the image. But I do put red check marks over the saying, oh wow, I got that part right, I got that part right, I got that part right.
Okay.
And then last night I was coaching somebody else through a feedback session, and I had them actually redraw the image on a separate page to sort of communicate back to their past self in a different modality what the image looked like.
Terrific. I mean, that's exactly what I hope. You know, people are doing stuff like that. Saying things out loud turns out to be, for me, it reinforces. I want to make the connection with the feedback target associated with that coordinate. I know other people do it other ways, and but that reinforces the intention. So I'm glad you found that useful as well, and I hope others do too. Okay, I'm seeing some comments here. Yeah, John, you said you couldn't unmute yourself. We have to figure out what's wrong with that, and maybe that's Monica.
Try now, John.
Yeah, someone just unmuted me. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see a hand.
No, I didn't put my hand up, but before when people were talking, I was muted and couldn't unmute myself, so one of you is able to.
Okay, yeah, and I see your comment. I draw the feedback image also. Yep. I think that is really a good thing to do. And, you know, they say, Hal Puthoff told me many, many, many years ago that this is kinesthetic. You really want to get your body involved, too. You know, and that's also another reason for saying the coordinate out loud. You know, it's coming from your body, your unique kind of vibrations. Even if 100 people had the same coordinate, saying it out loud, it's your unique vibrations, which will match up with the feedback time with your unique vibration, saying that particular coordinate. And then sketching does the same sort of thing. You know, you're now sketching. You're telling yourself, oh, okay, so this is the sort of thing I wish at remote viewing, maybe you had also done this. But be really happy with the stuff that is good. You really want to build up a nice positive relationship with your subconscious, of course. Okay, no other comments, questions. I hope that was clear, because you know, somehow we, in many people's minds, gets the impression that it's complicated, and it's not. It's the same as really regular ARV, except you're doing 2 of them, and we do want you to do the judging. As you know, if you had an extra outside judge, yes, the judge would be doing that portion for you, but here you actually get to do it all and see it all.
I felt that that was one of the clearest set of diagrams you had to explain it, and recommend using those in preference to some of the earlier ones.
Thank you, John, and maybe that's just what I'll do. John has been around a very long time. I've probably done, every time I do this, I tend to do a new version, trying to make it a little bit better each time and emphasize the things which people have talked to me about that they didn't get. And anyway, thank you, John, for that.
Well, that was just my impression. I'm not sure others feel the same way, but maybe they can say if they do. I definitely felt it was clearer.
Okay. Okay, good, Teresa. I thank you for that comment. And I don't know if anybody else wants to comment. I hope you got it. I'm taking your silence, so I know it's not always true, but to be that you do understand it. Okay, yes, Chris, I got your comment. Thank you. Now, I came across this from, I don't know why her name's not on here. Oh, yeah, here it is, Pam Coronado.
Oh, yeah.
Recently, there have been, and this happens periodically, every several months, the issue of displacement becomes one which gets a lot of attention on the board, on the Google discussion list. And this has happened forever, going back from as long as I've ever been in here. We talk about it, and then it goes quiet again. And frankly, I think is as it should be. I don't think you want to pay too much attention to it. And finally, on one of these days when this came in, I got this from Pam, and I really want to go over it. I wish I had made this a bullet at a time, but obviously I didn't do that. But basically, she was talking about surrendering in general, and not to displacement. But I had surrendered to displacement. Her point is that surrender is not giving up. So what I want to do is connect her key points here. And she had some more, but I picked up the three that I thought were so relevant, and I want to discuss them with you, because this idea of surrendering to displacement, I think, is so important, in that I've been in this for a long time. I go back to 1977, 78 or so, and guess what? Everybody is looking to get rid of displacement, because what is displacement? Displacement leads to a miss. So you're trying to get rid of misses. I come to the conclusion that we will probably never be 100%. I feel very comfortable we're going to get to 70, 80%. Very comfortable. Maybe 90%. I don't think we're going to get to where you can do 100 predictions in a row and get 100%. I may be wrong, but I think just surrender for reasons which we may never understand, which may have to do with stuff going on in this mysterious, marvelous, subconscious world. Misses are around, maybe to teach us something. But here's what Pam had to say. First of all, when you surrender, this is not giving up. Now, everything down here, these are her words. Learning to surrender requires first understanding the human need for control. We attempt to control because we tell ourselves stories about what will happen if we don't. Fear is involved. I mean, we have displacement maybe because there is a certain amount of fear that, yeah, we're going to miss, but it's the fear which somehow is causing this. And this is this great irony here, is that the more anxious and controlling you become, the easier it is for others to perceive your insecurity. And others here might very well be the subconscious. So when your ego gets involved with this having to have control, I really, 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 really want to hit. Like, you kind of know when you overdo it. When you're in that kind of mode, you're just not surrendering and willing to allow a miss if it happens. Pretty much knowing it's not going to happen that often. The fact is displacements do not happen most of the time. They don't happen that often. There are other reasons we get misses. This is from her now. We are attached to a specific outcome because we are sure we know what's best for us. Now, it certainly feels like the hit is best for us, but maybe our subconscious wants to teach us something and tell us something. Okay, so she writes here, oh, the stories I've heard about the blessings of not getting what you wanted. If you've ever shouted hallelujah, hallelujah, regarding a job or a relationship that didn't come to pass, you know firsthand the relief of missed opportunities. I think we've all seen that our life worked out well. Hopefully your life worked out well right now. You feel pretty good about where you are, very good about where you are, but weren't there things that happened that at the time you thought were wrong? Okay. So, you know what? Maybe there's a reason that the control, the thing you really wanted, like a hit, in fact, didn't happen. And I really believe that our misses are there to teach us. You'd like to say it's as simple as the subconscious did it on purpose, but, sometimes we fouled up in our protocol, and certainly don't want to do that, but when you look back, you might be able to identify something like that. And then we've lost trust in the divine. Divine is one of those words that means different things to different people. But in this context, I would certainly put it in the subconscious category. The information that's coming up from the subconscious, why did it give me what turned out to be wrong? It has all this information, past, present, and future, but just trust it. And certainly don't let any time you get a miss cause you in any way to lose that trust. And who knows? Planning and producing are good as long as we remember there is a wisdom far greater than ours willing to steer the ship when we let go of the wheel. Oftentimes when things seem to be falling apart, they're actually falling together. I thought that was pretty beautiful of her. I actually sent her an email. I told her, thank you for sharing this wisdom. Because I thought this surrender wisdom was pretty good. And this is the bottom line, in my opinion. ARVers can live with displacement successfully via consensus. Now I want to say a few words about this whole idea of consensus. I have now made the decision that in the we groups that I manage, if there are less than 3 submissions, I'm simply going to pass. Now, this does actually maybe 2 key things. One is from the viewer perspective, it should relieve you. Because those few times when you are going to displace, notice I'm going to have other information from other viewers, so it shouldn't be as big a deal in your mind, because the prediction that goes into Firefly will be based on at least 3 viewers. So that really ought to make it easier for you to simply trust, go ahead. If you do get a personal displacement, which you'll know about at feedback time, that's fine. Take a look, see if you can figure out what, and see what it is that your subconscious is trying to teach you. But it should reduce the stress on you. It also reduces the stress on me as a judge, because I am going to have a lot more information now. I'm coming from a place where I feel the chances of getting 2 displacements together, that's going to be quite small, because we don't understand displacement, but I've got people in different places in their lives, in different parts of the world. I feel very comfortable having more than two, having three or more people all submitting. So this is like a good decision, in my opinion, to play up the consensus for both the viewer and the group manager. So in terms of Firefly, that is exactly my plan. And this is really the main part of the presentation. I really would like to have discussions now and questions. I have additional material, but frankly, I would prefer not to show it. What I would like very much to do now is have a dialogue. Okay, Teresa?
I tried to unmute everybody.
Oh, okay, good. So you tried to, okay, yeah, let's unmute all here. Okay, Mark did not get unmuted somehow.
He's, yeah.
Can you unmute him?
No, I can't.
Okay, I'm going to, wait, let me try muting all. How do I unmute all? Oh, you have to do them one at a time? Interesting. There must be I thought there was an unmute all. No. No. Okay. I don't know what the problem is, Mark, but if you want to say or do anything, please put it in the chat box and I'll share it. Everybody else is unmuted. So talk to me, ask questions. What is your feeling? Are you going to participate with We and Firefly? Now you can continue doing We and nothing. You do not have to come into Firefly with We. But now that I've made the decision to have three or more viewers, I am anxious to bring in as many active viewers as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. For some of us, like I've been enrolled in a number of different groups for a while and been less active lately. But one of the reasons I've been less active is I've been trying some of the newer groups like Igor's and John's and some of those new ones that have been coming up, which I've really enjoyed. What I'm trying to figure out as we move into Firefly, how can I tell where I'm going to be contributing best? Like I really like Pegasus group, I like financial and some first group. I've liked all of them, so I just don't know where I'm going to be most beneficial.
Well, I mean, that is the exact right question to ask. And that's exactly the kind of question where you're going to have to make some decisions about how much time do you think you can put in and which one feels best. I mean,
So, Marty, does it matter if you want to get 3 predictions per week? Then why not tell her to submit for the group that's getting the least?
well, that's exactly that. In other words, okay, yeah, maybe okay, if that's the point you were getting at, Teresa, if they're going to be different we groups, that would be perfect because we are going to do a scheduling sort of thing. And then the specific we group that you become active in will be decided by who the other people, what groups the other people go in. So yeah, if you're saying, hey, Marty, I don't care which we group I'm in, as long as, they're all financial, then you'll say, let me decide which one. That's terrific.
Well, I guess I'd be pretty much okay with that. I mean, I could even see that there could just be a generic we place, where you can go and do session. I don't know if that would be possible, and then you would need it.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. In other words, they would be every day, anybody who wanted to. You see, the thing is, it's the planning. Some people like some days of the week better than others. Also, some people have gotten to know um, each other. I also interpreted your question about should you do cast versus we.
Yeah, well, I plan to continue with cast, and I kind of had fun with Igor too. That's been kind of different. I don't know why, but it's kind of different. But I do like we. I like it really well, and so I want to continue with that as well.
Yeah.
But I know sometimes there's only been two of us, and I hate to miss, but I can't be there all the time. It would be nice to. I don't know if I had some way to know in advance, where it was really needed. Like, do I need to go ahead and do for the first group on Monday, or should I wait and do it for financial on Wednesday, or Pegasus on Thursday, or if we could just have something generic wherever you needed it, you could do fine. I'd be okay with that.
I am so happy that you brought this up because you're raising an issue which we have not paid enough attention to, and that is the whole issue of scheduling. Yes, I need a lot more people. If I had a lot of people, the scheduling almost happens by itself, because there's enough every day, no matter which group you put them in. However, I think we're going to be, it's going to be kind of a close call. And I think what's going to happen is after we see how many people indeed are interested, and you're already saying you are, I think you're saying, hey, I'd like to do 2 we a week or 3 we a week. You need to tell me that kind of number. And then I'll fit you into a schedule based on the other people.
Okay.
There's various issues involved here about that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're only going to do 5 predictions a week in Firefly, we may have an excess of people submitting predictions. For example, I've talked to a couple of people who have a track record of over 60% doing solo work, and we know Russ does. And so if they submit, and maybe 5 or 6 groups submit, there'll be that issue of selecting. And in addition, I guess the question is, do we want to have sort of a comprehensive distribution of viewers, or do we want to leave it up to each group to put forward their needs and sort of informally match? And we haven't discussed that yet, but that's something I've partially been tasked with in terms of helping to populate the groups. So we've been talking about that, Marty and Chris and I and Carlos.
And let's keep talking about it now. Let me address the first part of what you said. I don't quite understand the second yet. But the first one, if we have too many groups, which is sort of what you were applying, I would actually be very happy because this would allow on one day, someone wrote in the redundancy. Here is where Carlos, who, is having problems with his father, I'm sure that's the only reason he's not here, but Carlos will set up a general schedule for each day. So Monday would be Euro, US dollar. Tuesday might be the Australian dollar versus such and such. So for a particular day, all the predictions that come in for that day, I think should be for the same trade. So we're talking about building up multiple consensus now. Consensus, within each group, because that's why we went to groups, because we believe in consensus. And now we can even have a consensus between multiple groups. I think that would be a wonderful situation.
Well, consensus is good, but also we've been talking about whether to have a running average of 60% or whatever for anybody submitting predictions, and using that also as a criterion for making selections. So both factors could be in play there.
Right, I agree. I mean, let's say we did have 3 in. One group or solo, let's consider solo a special kind of group, so we'll still call it a group. One group might be below 60%, and then the Firefly group management decision will be based on that. But the fact that they have a consensus as well, I mean, that seems like a good idea. Now, the only alternative I've ever thought of, and this is a decision that will have to be made as a protocol, is you could spread the money out. So you could have different people doing different trades on different Forex pairs and spread it out. But that kind of goes against Kelly. You know, we're sort of doing a Kellery lottery here, going for the big one. And because we do believe we're going to be over 60%. So that's why my recommendation, and I would say no final decision has been made on that, as you know. Now, what was the second part? So the first part was multiple viewers on a single day. What was the second part of your question?
I don't recall my second part.
Okay.
But on that issue, I mean, it's getting pretty technical, but, you know, Mark Samuelson, I guess he's muted and can't speak, but he would have a lot to say here. The statistics that he and Igor were going over help convey to what extent having either unanimity or lack of unanimity among, say, 5 or 6 people in a group making a prediction can be tracked. We did some of that in Aurora, which I'll, you know, circulate on the discussion list. And we did some, Marty, with you in terms of the TARG scale. So it would be taking it to another level to say, well, let's look at the groups submitting predictions for Monday, and there's 3 groups, and 2 of them are vote one way and 1 vote the other way. So in other words, there's different levels of confirmation here that you could look at. And I think it's good that we're looking at both of them. I think Igor and Mark's work has been wonderful in bringing back some of the statistics that were there that we weren't aware of that suggest not only having more viewers, but also the scoring of those viewers per event.
Right. And perfect. I mean, I agree with everything you said. And in fact, as far as I can tell, we will have, and this might even happen as early as before Friday, because on Friday we're going to have this Firefly meeting. I would like to get those of us together that can make that kind of decision and try to pin some of that stuff down, John. So you might want to keep talking to other people as well, because when Firefly kicks off, and it looks now like it's going to be maybe, you know, mid-October, second week, probably second week in October, when it kicks off, we'll go with one of these decisions, and that'll be the protocol.
Right. I'd like to go back at some point to this subject of displacement too, when it's appropriate.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think this is a perfect presentation you made for we, and that's a very good way to look at displacement in the context of we and people that are taking that approach, having the 2 targets and 2 sessions. However, you know, when displacement first arose, like with Carrington 70 years ago, it wasn't because he was afraid of anything. He just noticed it. It was displacement in time, not in space. And similarly, I think some of us who experience displacement don't fear it or not really involved with it. It just happens. So some people are taking steps like CAS, the EdMay software, where you just have one target that you see. You never get to see both photos. That's an approach to try to reduce displacement. I think that's a legitimate approach too. Each approach is fine, and that's the way it should be, and we're experimenting with both, and I think that's great. Anyway, that's sort of the gist of what I wanted to say about that.
Well, I agree totally. I mean, and getting to the point where you truly get rid of the fear. So you've been around long enough, as I have, where I think we are at the point where we just accept it. That's sort of part of the surrender. And I think the CAS approach is great. You know, what's interesting is every time CAS has a miss, and more so in CAS than in other places, you at least say, you know what, there's a kind of displacement. Because if you did everything right in CAS is now set at the 2 sigma level. There's a good match between the transcript and something that only the computer sees in terms of matching it based on what other people had put in. And so it's almost support for the point of view that the subconscious can read a computer's mind.
Also, while we're talking about CAS, since we're having open discussion here, and that's great, and people can watch the webinar, we put a lot of resources into CAS, and maybe some of you know I've been sort of the CAS general manager of the managers, and so I'm sort of been following it very closely. And I think Chris, I don't know if Chris is here, Chris Georges, but I think
yes,
there he is. Well, Chris, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit, about how much resources we should use from CAS to put into Firefly. I don't think we've talked about it specifically, but you and I may be on the same page on that.
I'm in agreement of it. I don't think Firefly is going to be contingent on any one protocol, if that's what you're getting at. I mean, how to weigh.
No, I was thinking
CAS?
how much resources of CAS, we have 3 or 4 groups with 5 or 6 viewers. That's a lot of resources into CAS, and I'm not sure it's going to generate enough predictions, even if they're more accurate. We have so many passes.
Oh, because of the pass rate. Yeah, that's true. Unless of course we don't adhere to Ed May's proposed figure of merit score and then make adjustments there. But you're right. I mean, we theoretically would need to have we would be making 3 predictions for every 10 sessions.
But can't you, John, at least help that by having more than one viewer go after the same prediction? So if you had 5 viewers going after the same prediction, now you've got a good chance that at least one of them will exceed that magic number. I happen to like that magic number.
We could certainly do that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We could certainly do that. As I've mentioned several times, we want to have at least one group that's following closely Ed May's protocol, and that's what the group that CAS Oak, the group that I'm GM for, does. Other groups have already started experimenting by using the TARG scores on the sly, as it were, and seeing if that helps us, and it may. So yeah, it's possible that we may also have multiple viewers per day. That's another way to look at it. But my group won't be doing that, but maybe some of the other groups may want to.
Well, and right, because we don't, I mean, we'll take passes. I'll tell you something. At this point, my feeling is, and I've talked this over with Carlos, if we don't get to 240, and we probably won't, that's fine. We'll get to wherever we get, and we'll stop at the end of, I'm talking about 240 for the full year, phase 2. We'll stop at the end of the year wherever we are.
Right.
So I think it's much more important to exceed the 60% than to get the number of predictions right. That's why I would counsel to keep CAS's number high until we get data. I mean, if we get data that says we can lower it a little bit and still get a good hit rate, fine. But we don't have that data yet.
And if we have 4 CAS groups, then altogether we may be putting out as many predictions as a we group.
That's correct.
Yep.
And John did. That's correct. Now, John did allude to the other issue, which is if we have 4 CAS groups. Now, John's group only does 1 per day because he has 1 viewer. But if the other 3 take this other approach of having a lot of viewers, we're back to the issue of do we have enough viewers to keep, 6 we groups. Well, you're going to have 1. Scott, you have 1 we group that's moving over to 4X, right? That's already 4X.
Yeah, Sage is 4X.
And so we have 5 we groups, unless somebody else wants to become a we manager, and I'm certainly open to that. I'd be happy to teach anybody who wants to become a we group manager how to do it. But so we have 5 we groups and 4 CAS groups. We have a lively group. So we're going to have something like 10 or 11 potential groups. And what we need to do is work out schedules for the people and the groups. So, we can manage trying to maximize our chances of getting 1 prediction a day. And that's Firefly management task, right?
Yes.
While we're talking, Scott, are you planning to start a cast group still or not?
I am still planning on. I would be starting a cast group, but it would really be probably more likely taking over one of Marty's Wii groups and turning it into cast.
Oh, okay.
I was going to turn Sage into cast, but in any case, I'm planning on having 2 4X groups, 1 cast, 1 Wii.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. I'm going back and forth on that, Scott.
I could start a new group. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's what I'm. Just simply because, though, we may have to make that decision if we don't have enough people. So you can see a lot. The number of people that we get who want to be a player is one of the issues here. I mean, if we can't populate enough Wii groups, then I'll give you one of mine to keep as Wii.
I thought that was going to be a problem, but like I said, I've been in recruiting a lot, so I think I could start a new cast group.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that might like that, especially if they want to be in 2 groups and they want to do 2 transcripts for a Wii group, and then they only have to do 1 transcript for the cast group.
Right.
I think some people might like that.
Right. So that would give them 3 transcripts a week. Though I do point out, Joe McMonagle does 6 a week. On the other hand, he doesn't have to work. I think that's this is basically his full-time job. But that okay. But this is, I think, right now, John, and you're obviously right in the middle of this. Probably the key issue that's gotten the least amount of attention is getting the people and the schedule set up.
Right.
Okay. I think we beat that one to death, though, but yes, it's definitely an issue.
I wanted to say, too, I guess Mark Samuelson's not still able to talk here, but, his notion about stressing and having a large number of people as you can per group is pretty important. And I think someone like Mark W., who's not here, but I've worked with in the past, and he's the one that has an Excel file that makes it really easy to do multiple sessions for a single event. Anyway, he's on board with doing that. And so there are people who want to do a lot of sessions per event, and we're not ruling that out either. In fact, we're encouraging that along with all the other stuff we're doing.
There's Mark.
Okay, so Mark's finally there. So Mark, I'll be quiet and let you talk about that.
Okay. Yes, and that's fine, John. That's good. Okay, Mark, you're on.
Hi.
Hi. What did you do to get back on in case it happens again?
Throughout this whole webinar, my internet's been cutting out, so I don't know why. Usually for today, the whole thing, my internet's been behaving the whole day, but yet this webinar has just been cutting out consistently. So that's why I appeared to be muted, and I don't know.
Okay, go ahead. Give us comments, questions.
I don't have anything right now. I haven't heard the last 5 minutes of discussion, so I'm not sure
Okay.
what's been being said here.
Okay, one thing you did pass on, that is once you had 3 or more viewers, we then has a 50% pass rate. So that's an interesting statistic.
Yeah, something just to factor into the scheduling and calculating how many predictions are needed to fulfill a certain amount of
Correct.
trials. Exactly.
In fact, I'm sort of getting the vision now that that's the way it'll be. We'll spread the Wii ones out, and then the cast, when it comes in, will be for consensus. So those days when cast comes in, it'll help us become part of the consensus.
Or an insurance policy in case there's a pass with something.
Right.
Because it seems there's a high rate of pass.
And we even 50% means it would be okay as we keep getting more and more people. And I'm telling you, I envision this. As long as we keep doing what we're doing now, going relatively slowly and carefully and do everything to get well over the 60% mark. This is going to go on for a very long time, and we'll get to the point where we're going to have lots and lots of viewers. So, okay, who hasn't said anything? Shane, do you have any comments here?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just personally, I'm in the observer mode for Wii right now. I'm in one group, in Mark's Lively group. I'm looking forward to this Wednesday's session. As far as Wii goes, I'd be interested in participating. I would just, if I could, what I'd really like is with these webinars, you record them.
Yes.
Do you have a list of the past webinars I might have missed?
But I lost the last part of what you said. Do I have a list of?
Of the webinars I might have missed in the past so I could review them. I know there was one that I did catch a couple of months ago about each one of the groups that you have, and then there was a Forex webinar that I missed completely. It was on a Monday. Is there a way that I can retrieve those from YouTube or something like that?
Yes.
I could tell you how to do it easily. I have a website called 120Plus, and on that page there's a whole page devoted specifically to APP. And on that page there's all of Marty's webinars listed, and the links to get to them on YouTube.
Oh, that's
Excellent.
terrific.
What was that website again, please?
It's called 120Plus, 120 and with a plus mark, or you can put John Knowles and it should come up.
120. Why don't you put it in the box and I'll copy it over to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, put it
Thank
in
you
the
very
box.
much.
Sure.
A lot of them are also on ARB for fun, but I don't know that I have all of them. Probably not.
So I assume, Marty, that you keep posting them to YouTube so they'll show up on your channel.
Right, and that's the other thing. Okay, so where are you?
And Marty, what was your channel?
Let me see.
You can just
I'll
search,
see if I can
search
get.
YouTube for Marty Rosenblatt. You probably get it that way too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I suspect that's right. Okay, you're saying they should Google. You get that in the chat box.
Or go to YouTube. Yeah, to get 120Plus, Google it 120Plus, or go to YouTube and just search for Marty Rosenblatt. I would think would get it.
Or Applied Precognition Project. Will
Or
be in
you
there.
know what? I'm going to be putting this one on YouTube, and I think once you get to this one, there's a link to get others by Marty or something like that.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so you'll be able to get the rest of them that way. I
I would definitely. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I did not see on my chat what I thought I sent everybody. Did everybody get something in their chat boxes?
Yeah, it says audience question, right? 120Plus.
Okay, so I don't know why that didn't come out on my chat box.
It doesn't show for me either, yeah. Oh, it shows in the questions, in the list of questions.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be just a matter of I want to get freshened up on how things are being done. Like today's webinar is really informative for me. I wasn't aware that we were judging both pitches, so it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
I'd like to help out with that, and I may ease into the process or just jump in with both feet as soon as I can get into to one of the groups.
Okay. Why don't I give you a little time, do that, get more comfortable with it, and then when we get closer to finalizing who wants to be in what group for Firefly, again, I really, a lot of this is being focused on this Firefly venture, but it's the individual groups that feed it. Then we'll see if you, in fact, want to go into one. So I'll contact you on that, or you contact me.
Yeah, I still want to. I still have to send you an email and ask for Tom Atwater's email address. I'm going to talk to him as well. So I'll be sending you an email later today.
Right. I gave you his email address already, didn't I?
No, I don't believe you did.
Okay.
You might have. I might have written it down, but I don't.
I think I emailed. Would you email me right now? This will not particularly just because and I'll give it to you. Just email me, and then I'll just send back his email address to you. It's not a secret. He's in the old he'd be in the old discussion group. He was very active way back when. Probably been 6 months now.
Is he the one that does the horse racing and all that?
I'm sorry, Dwayne. I just didn't hear. There was too much.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to mute everybody, and then Dwayne, I'm going to unmute you. Let me find you here. Okay, now go ahead. Now you're the only one. Ask.
Okay, with the Firefly, when are you guys going to start?
The plan now is to have a Firefly webinar. We'll go to webinar. This will be Carlos's meeting Friday, and some of the open issues will hopefully, in fact, I'm hoping, frankly, all of the open issues will have some specifics down for them for discussion. In other words, we hope to put out what Firefly is in detail. People can make decisions about whether or not they want to become part of it.
Okay. How much do you know, how much do I have to have come up with?
The minimum is $100.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, and that's because we want to encourage people who are, part of app. The other thing is you have to be active. So you're committing, before we'll even take your $100 or more, right, you are committing to a certain activity level.
Right.
So, this is not a mutual fund. You have to be an active participant.
Right. That sounds good.
Okay, great.
You're going to screw that up. Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody else? Let's see, we haven't heard from Bob. You have anything you'd like to share with us?
No, sorry, Marty. I'm just lurking here. I'm trying to get some work done, but everything is clear.
That is absolutely fine.
He's needed.
Okay, anybody else have any? Okay.
I had a quick question.
Sure, shoot.
Since it's anything were you working on a new target image library, or?
We talked about that. I wish I had time. I'd like to do that. Both mine, which is prepared, and what Mark has done, which is different groups, which is sort of the CAS approach.
Mark White.
Mark White, right. I find, just knowing what I know now, feel like they could both be improved. I would like to definitely go with the prepared. I think that's just a better idea, because then you never get the accidental accidental matching of too much, which happens when you have different groups. They're supposed to be orthogonal, but of course we all know there really is no such thing as perfect orthogonality in targets. So, but I just don't know when I'm going to have time to do it. Maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't go into Firefly with that animal group still in there, because all my viewers are having trouble with even if it's just one animal per pair. A lot of people just can't see the animal. Even the advanced students.
They can see people, but not animals.
They're not crazy about people either, but they see people better than animals.
Now, I think, let me give you my impressions of that. If it's a person staying still, you know, an image of like even a famous person, though a famous person might be different too. But we have seen over and over and over again when the people are in action, they pick it up. And, you know, I've seen a lot of Mark's pictures are just a straightforward picture of, you know, an interesting animal, but it's stationary. That's very different than, you know, a lion attacking a zebra. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Yeah, it's true. That flamingos one where they were all bobbing and weaving, my viewer picked up that motion.
Right. And there's a people one where everybody got it. It was a soccer player doing a kick on a ball, and a lot of people saw it as a dancer and other things, all with motion. I mean, this is the sort of thing I've learned about targets, that it isn't as simple as animals or people or, you know, there's other things in targets that people pick up. But that's why I think we need to have it. But what you're recommending is that I take out.
Yeah. What do we have? We had the blowfish. You know, we had some good viewers just not even see the blowfish, just kind of sitting there in the water. Mm-hmm. We had, yeah, and I had an iguana last night or some kind of, and, you know, I drew it like a landscape, mm-hmm. and I got parts of it. But but even the advanced viewers are having serious problems
with all the animals. Yeah, because he's probably done static animals,
especially the fish. Especially the fish. Yeah.
It would be nice if a new person, new to APP, would volunteer to go through one or more of these libraries. We have Mark White that has like 20,000, and Marty, you have a bunch. And then,
7,000. Yeah.
Of course, Cass has 3. And then I ran into another person who has a bunch. They're online. I've got to find out from him if we can get access to those. They're also, you know, you don't have to pay for them. Anyway, if some new person wants to do something, that would be one thing that they could volunteer to do, because we have an awful lot to do, and we don't have a whole lot of people actually doing them.
But let me just tell you, I would object to that, because a new person just doesn't have the, like I feel right now, and I think Scott feels the same way, and there are probably a few other experienced viewers who feel they really have a sense of what makes a good target. You know, the thing which Ed May did, and I have great respect, as you all know, for Ed, grabbed one piece of the puzzle. That was the Shannon entropy having to do with the
gradient of the Shannon.
Gradient of the pixel colors, and I think he even turns them into a grayscale. That's pretty narrow, and yet it showed that even that kind of entropy had an effect, okay? But I think there are other kinds that will have even more of an effect. Well,
let me refine my suggestion, and that is I included not just people new to, I meant people who were new to APP, but it's true I also included people new to RV. But if we limit it to people new to APP who have experience, and there are a lot of people out there, that person, talking with you or other people could hopefully, make another pool that we could use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I volunteered to be on the committee to approve or disapprove of binary pairs being added to the library.
And so did I. Anybody else want to volunteer for that feels their experience, have a good sense of what would make a good target?
I'd be very interested in doing that too.
Chris?
Yeah. And do you guys remember Patrick? He came to the app back in 2013, and he used to be in our group here in LA, and then he moved to Chicago, I think. But he had his own image library that he'd probably be happy to help us use.
What's his name again?
His name was Patrick.
Yeah, I remember him. That's right.
Yeah, smart guy. He would have been great in app. I wish he had more time, because he was statistically minded also. He does medical research with computers and everything.
Right.
Well, we'd like to get him back to view as well for Firefly. But you know what? Maybe we can contact him. I mean, it sounds like 4 of us. That's about right. Mark, Chris, Scott, Patrick. I mean, Marty, Chris. Chris, Scott, Patrick. Though Mark White is another possibility. I did talk to him, by the way, and he agrees that the pre-paired idea is a better idea because he himself has experienced not the animal problem, but the problem of having two choices from what are supposed to be orthogonal groups turn out to be too close to each other.
Right.
So I think we've all seen that. So the only issue is time, and I may be the worst one here, but let's see if we can find the time to do it because I do think it's important.
Well, I'll be glad to do some onesie-twosies, just suggesting some pairs and sending to the committee.
And do know that we actually don't have to like get it all done. If we're going to put in some brand new ones, we can, as long as we're not in that particular group, you know what I'm saying? We could give it to a particular group to use. In the past, I've done that, and I've basically only been like one or two ahead of groups, and I've got pairs like that.
I didn't follow that at all.
Yeah,
what do you think?
And it probably isn't very practical.
No, I didn't understand what you were suggesting. I didn't understand.
And I'm not sure it's a good idea, but let me tell you what the idea was. Let's say there's going to be a group for next Monday that needs a pair. We could come up with one, just one pair, and that could be assigned to that group, period. So we don't have to finish a whole brand new target pool to begin to introduce new ones.
Right. That's what I meant. Onesie-twosies. Yeah. I'll start a new discussion and put up my suggestions for what I would like. But some of the more innovative stuff I was talking about, I guess we just don't have time for right now.
Well, but why don't we do that in the? Why not? We have time. I'm going to end this in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, give me your innovative new ideas. We love innovative.
Well, no, I wrote you some of them. We could have people, if someone is doing a session and they see that it's too similar, they could just write us. Or instead of having write us separately, they could vote. They could have a comment on the target pair in a separate spot on that page.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they could vote for how effective that is, and then bad ones just get weeded out faster.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I remember that. That's a different approach.
Another person is
introduce that. My inclination now is to have 4 or 5 of us virtually look at the existing ones, because many of them are good, and look at the pairings that we've gotten from Mark already that were good ones, and then bring in new targets and just put together a brand new pool. I don't know if we'll have it done by the time Firefly starts, but whenever it's ready, it's ready.
John?
I was going to say just quickly that Igor is also really devoted to finding photos that match, that don't match well, or pair up well, however you want to phrase it. So he might be someone interested in doing this too, and he's had some good success in his group.
John, who was it? John, who was it at Alexis's webinar, Virtual Host Media? I just sent that link.
Yeah, that's me. I'm actually looking for a link right now.
Oh, so who is that? I'm sorry.
Bob. That's Bob McKeever.
Oh, okay, Bob. I'm sorry. I didn't recall your name last time.
And that doesn't go to everybody.
I've got, let's see. And they're not organized, or they're basically randomized, but there's 5,000 or so, and what I can do is make a zip file and put them up so that you guys can download them.
Yeah, I would like some new...
it's still, if you're looking for optimum, you probably want to go through and pick your pairs out of them, but yeah, it's a nice batch of...
Is that this Virtual Host Media?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a little test app that I built a few years back.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, really. It's very simple, and it puts up the pairs, and the pairs that I've looked at, for the most part, I think many are pretty good.
Okay, Chris, definitely when we have a meeting, okay,
yeah,
that's now part of this. That's terrific in terms of And again, I do think what we want to do as a committee is go through things just exactly like this and pick the best of the best, so we can end off with what we feel is a really powerful possible target, the target pool.
Marty, I don't know if you are familiar with the feedback system that Alexis had for his dung beetle stuff. I think it was the dung beetle thing that he had about 6 months or a year ago. But one part of that was the viewer had to actually go in and put descriptors on the target photos as they saw them.
Yes, I remember that very well.
That seems like a perfect way if we're ever going to try to build up, really orthogonal pictures, and ones that we can really define a couple of things are the key words that are associated with that picture. It seems like a perfect way to
Okay.
I thought it was brilliant of him.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea.
It's not short term.
Well, exactly. And it does a lot of other things, too, with the words and everything. I mean, it could lead to an improved CAS. Because, anyway, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the other suggestions on there was that when the committee looks at a picture pair, we don't just say yes or no. We assign a couple indexes to it, and even if it's not integrated in with your website, but just we could assign indexes like the Shannon entropy to it. We could even crunch some numbers and see how many times people have succeeded with that.
Yep.
People have gotten a hit with that image before, and certain images that have not done well. So it would be nice to assign 4 or 5 indexes, scores, numbers to each image and each image pair.
Well, right, and that's sort of right, exactly. That's in addition to the words that Alexis would have you do. Mm-hmm. But I agree. All of this would be really, really nice. How much we want to take on, I guess that'll be the first thing we have to discuss when we meet together as a target pool group. God, there's so much. I don't know if you guys appreciate how unique and wonderful we are. I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but we are really taking this on in a long-term fashion. And if we do the things that we're talking about, and we are in the process of doing them, just imagine 10 years from now how much information we're going to have. And it is pretty amazing. I mean, it is pretty amazing. And I see it happening, and it's happening really because of you guys who are coming up with all these suggestions and are willing to put the time into it. It's like I have to thank you all and thank us all for doing this. It's great.
Oh yeah, I could write pages on the things that make app special, but I won't bore you with them now.
Yeah. Well,
I will just add one more thing to the target library thing. There's an advantage just to adding new pictures to it, because some people want to grow and challenge themselves, and just the idea that there's new pictures in the target library excites some people.
Yeah, no, I agree, and the binary one that I have, I kept adding to. I mean, it got up to whatever it is, and we just kept adding to it, and I think that'll be the approach here. But I think taking away, like I'm ready to take some out of that library. However, I think that will be the style forever, is something like a target pool probably should always be under review to take some out, plus adding new ones. So, we're on the same wavelength, Scott.
And the other thing is there are certain viewers who just have a hard time looking at people who are staring at the camera, a single subject, human staring at the camera. There are other people that have trouble with animals, and Joe McMonagle seemed to have trouble with a few certain types of targets. So it would be nice somehow if that viewer could say, "Can you give me some targets that don't have those?" You know, I don't see individual animals well, so can they somehow
Well,
have it?
we may disagree on that, and I'll tell you why. One, that attitude accepts something which I don't want to accept, which is that viewers really can't do certain things. I think when they get a miss and they say it's due to that, and that's happened in the past, that gives them an opportunity now to get better at that aspect of it. But that's only one of the reasons. The other reason is just the reality to put together individualized targets takes an enormous amount of time. The closest I came to that, and I actually did it with Russ, and I am prepared to do that, is to have the person themselves put together the target pool. In other words, Russ had a target pool he put together. It was in We. I just turned it off as an option because I wanted not to have so many options. But he put together a bunch of targets, which he said were just the ones that he likes. He put together over 100 of them, so he wasn't worried about being front-loaded. I think that's the right way to do it, if we're going to do it, is to let the people do it themselves. And I am prepared to do that coding. In other words, if John Smith, if his name is in there as the viewer, I will put up a target pool that is John Smith's. So I'm willing to do that.
That would be cool.
But see, the other thing, which is really the basic approach that we're doing here, is, yeah, you're going to get some targets. I don't care how good we get at this. There are going to be some targets that some people are not going to like. We've already seen so many examples of that where people write, that was a terrible target, and yet it's the same target that somebody else loved. That's just the nature of this business. And you know what? That's why we're not at 100%. And I think we can just live with that. I think there's certain things that we just live with.
Right. There'll be things that slip by our committee too, that people will see some relationship between these two targets that we didn't see.
That's absolutely right. I don't know why the sub does that. It seems to go out of its way to do that sometimes.
I think we should live with it for now, but I think that that's an important point, like that Russ constructing his own target set, if he's into that, and a lot of people are, because as one of my hobby horses for a long time is, we still don't have what Lynn Buchanan is allegedly constructing in his database, where viewers' strengths and weaknesses are identified, at least in terms of data bits. But we don't, there could be different kinds of viewers altogether, just like there are people playing baseball positions.
Right.
And down the road, when we can afford to fund research, we can put that in and add that to our accuracy, to increase our accuracy, making use of viewers and their strengths.
But some data we do have, but we haven't looked at yet, is what targets have caused the most misses.
Yeah.
We can backtrack and do that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I can show you guys, because I spent like a lot of hours actually uploading all these pictures. It was like 3 years worth of pictures, and all of those are associated with the coordinates. And so if somebody had time, we can basically figure out the images that resulted in hits versus images that resulted in misses. I don't know, I sent a link in the chat box. You can basically take a look.
I tried to, but it says it's unable to access, access permissions.
Okay, let me see. Let me change it so...
And I want all of you to know, notice how many times recently we've said, if someone has time, if someone has time. I want you to know my objective for Firefly is to make the millions of dollars that is going to come from it, because we're going to get up to 75%, and start an institute where we actually can start paying people, have people come in regularly and do all these things that we're talking about. That's the dream.
Can you guys check the link now, or does it work?
It seems to be, yeah, definitely, it works.
Well, that's basically all the images for probably the last 2.5 years.
Of all the app groups?
No, this is prior to 2014.
Yeah, so chicken dinner's not in there.
Right, but these all these images can basically be given an attribute that this image created a miss or this image created a loss. I sort of started doing that with my my target list. Let me show you what I'm doing with mine.
Here, why don't I give you? Let me see. I haven't done that. Let me change presenter here.
You already did. Okay. Oh, I see. Right.
Alexis, yeah. Let's change presenter here. Okay, so we should be able to. Yeah, we're seeing your screen now.
Okay. So you can actually take a look at I also linked it if you guys want to look at it in your own computers. But basically, I have. Are you guys able to see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I categorize every time I do a session. I put that image into whether or not it hit or it missed. I even have decoys, but you guys should know about that. Or whether or not it was not actualized. So, for example, in here I have all the images that basically created hits, and all the images that created misses. And basically, we can do the exact same thing with the all these images.
Yeah, see, this is great for helping us even get. You've done this as individual images, but the ones that got hits, for example, pairing those, that would be a good place to go to come up with pairs.
Right, definitely. Since we're in the topic of target images, I did run a trial where I actually tried to force people to displace. So I would put in images that which I thought were really really active. Oh, basically, there's this theory that if the photo's active, there's a lot of things going on, or if there's something violent going on, the viewer is somehow attracted to that image, which causes displacement. So I tested that theory by basically putting side-by-side boring pictures, and then I would insert one of these pictures into the mix to see if it would actually affect anything. And I found out that it really didn't make any difference. Like, this image right here wasn't being forced to look, or wasn't causing displacement. Like,
yeah, but I think a horrific image might cause the opposite.
Right, that's true. But I'm just thinking out loud, I guess.
Yeah. You did this during your dung beetle days, or?
Oh yeah, I mean it was like a how do I say, a secret side project. So it was actually I was portraying it as if it was like a regular target.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was trying to force displacement to see what would happen. But those didn't really do any difference.
Yeah. See, action, right? BEM from Cornell, I think it was Cornell, did show that there are like certain things which are attractors, and those which might force people the other way. But you know, I have to tell you, I believe the goal, again, for the long term, is that none of that shit matters, if you pardon the expression. Just describe and sketch your target as it is. look at
Right.
it, feedback, get whatever reaction you get, because part of that reaction is what you should get at remote viewing time. You know, ARV is a little different. And I think over the long term, we just want to keep training ourselves to get better and better and not focus on limitations. But anyway, I just sharing that attitude because it leads to some of the decisions I've made in terms of target pools and stuff like that.
So another thing we haven't really tried, even though Alexis had some action pictures in there, none of them had really the irreversible changes entropy that Joe was talking about.
Oh, right. Well, something that's blowing up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of irreversible.
Right, explosions. But you see,
not after the fact.
Let me tell you one of the problems that I see with target pool when we have discussions like this is, let's say you really went for all the action stuff and you know, you thought that was really important. Pretty soon your viewers are going to know, God, half the time I get an action picture, and guess what? They're going to be front-loaded. And when you think about things for the long term, you just have to think differently, because you don't want to front-load people.
Well, also on that point, the entropy only pertains to the gradient in the pixel. It doesn't pertain to the cognitive content. So that's a separate subject from whether dynamic pictures are going to be viewed more numinous or not. It's a quite different subject.
Yes.
On the topic of entropy,
yeah, go ahead. I was talking about you know, there's the two kinds of entropy. So I wasn't talking.
Right.
I was talking about the physical kind, not the pixel kind.
But they've tested the physical entropy with an outbounder. They haven't tested it yet with just looking at the photo or the location. But right. I hear you. Yeah.
I think Igor, or I'm not sure if John. I remember Igor talking about contacting Ed May to figure out if we can do the analysis of the entropy thing. What is there an update on that, or that fail, or
what happened was that Igor was told by Ed to get in touch with Ed again in a month when he was less busy.
Oh, okay.
He would write up a standalone program to allow us to calculate the entropy in different photos.
Nice.
I see.
And how long ago was that?
I don't know, 2.5 weeks, maybe 3.
Okay.
I don't know.
I put out a link. I know Teresa was mentioning the sort of feedback I give to my viewers. I put a link on the chat box if you want to sort of see what kind of feedback that is. And I do collect. It's on the chat box.
How did you getting this stuff into the chat box? The rest of us couldn't figure out how to do that.
Oh, you guys don't see the bottom right? Do you guys see this thing? No?
No, it doesn't show. I just put a test chat comment up, though.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but that was but that's because we can do it because we're organizers.
Right.
You are not in as an organizer. And so
No, he is. Alexis is.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. So that explains it.
Oh, I see.
How did you get yourself in as an organizer? That was clever.
I'm not sure. I just clicked on the link. Maybe just
logging
memorize
in.
Me.
Just
yeah.
logging in.
I'm sorry.
From last time.
I interrupt. You know, we are trying to learn GoToWebinar here as one of the things too. So that
this is a cool upgrade, by the way. I like it.
Okay.
Let's see. But yeah, I do collect information. Again, if anybody wants that, like I know the responses of what the viewer said. For example, one of the questions I asked is, let me look at the live form. Oh, there's also audio feedback, and that's something new I'm doing. So here I asked them to, in 3 words, describe what describe the feedback image, because sometimes there's images that are really hard to grade. Like, how would you give, or like, what does the viewer have to say in order for that viewer to get a 7.0. So yeah, so that's basically what this is. Let's see, mountain, explorer, and
Headlamp.
What?
Headlamp.
Headlamp.
oh yeah, that's a good one. But in one of my survey questions, I asked them, do you feel this was a good target?
See, we need something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, definitely. And I don't know how we would code this, and so I don't know. I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have a different feeling about it being a good target before they know it's a hit than after.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, since I'm just random thoughts, I was thinking of doing a psychological test on the viewers, in order to basically select targets for them. Because I know Angela Smith sort of did a study like that. Yeah.
So, in other words, somehow connect up their psychological profile with pictures that they would like or be more able to get? I mean, that sounds like...
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I remember I did a target for Teresa Frisch, where the target was of a concert, like a music concert, and I got a really good remote viewing hit, and the other viewers didn't. And one of the reasons why I believed I got a better hit was because I have had experience with concerts, and so usually your psyche is able to come up with words to describe it better if you've actually experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's just all.
These are all
ideas.
right. The
Theory.
fact of the matter is, let's face it, all of us who have been around for multiple years have done enough targets. We've done so many different kinds, and I don't know. I really believe a viewer, when they're on, can do anything. Joe McMonagle, even though he says there's some targets he doesn't like, and I can't even remember what category it was.
Waterfalls.
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 But
however,
he bombed on the mandala or the crop circle.
Okay, but fine. But come on, the kinds of targets that people can get is always so broad that I don't know. I mean, you want to do the best you can for the most people. If somebody wants to make one specialized to them, fine. But I think they're the ones that ought to do that. Because they're the only ones that really know, hey, I've been to a lot of concerts. On the other hand, if you put too many concerts in your specialized pool, you're going to be front-loaded. It just, the whole topic is so complicated that I really think the ideal target pool is a very general one with the very kind of fundamental principles that are natural, that if you've been in this long enough, you do have a sense of, and then you want to pair them so they're different. Good, but different. Good for different reasons. Different enough that the major gestalts will be distinguishable. They're just kind of stuff like that. And I think that's what this group, will be able to do. We'll be able to put together the best target pool that's been put together so far, because we do have the experience to do so. And it's not going to be perfect. And there are going to be people who are going to complain about it. Okay, any other comments, questions? And we'll do this. In fact, let me ask you, do you want to volunteer to be chairman of this target pool committee?
Who are you
Scott?
asking?
Yeah?
Scott.
No,
Scott.
no, I don't. I don't.
Alexis, you want to be chairman?
Nah.
I'll be on the committee.
Well,
Yes, I'll be on the committee, but I don't think I still haven't even done the website, and I feel really bad about
yeah,
that.
and that does have higher priority. See, that's a problem.
Right. I just haven't had.
Mark was interested, but he didn't jump in either. Mark Samuelson.
Yeah.
Maybe Igor will.
Well, I think we should
Yes.
launch Firefly and then evaluate at that point.
Yeah, it may be
I'm
good.
just yeah, as long as we have a choice not to use Mark White's targets, because
Mark White's animal targets.
Yeah, it's definitely messing, I think, with all of our
Let me ask
hit
you.
rates right now.
You saw my binary. For a long time, we were using my binary.
Right.
What did you think of that versus Mark White?
It's good, but like I said, it should be changing. It should be growing and be more dynamic.
Well, I think what I may do, based on what you're suggesting here, is come first with a random choice between Mark and the binary prepared ones, and then go from there. In other words, add both of them. Right now it's been one or the other. I think I'm going to make it random between the two. Some people may not like the fact that mine's in there at all, but they're going to have to live with it. And take out the animals. And that's what I guess we can start Firefly with. Huh?
Thank God. I personally would remove the food. That is the one that rubs me wrong.
Really?
Getting a plate of food throws me off all the
Well,
time.
you see, they're too static. See, a lot of marks are too static. That's why I preferred mine. You know, we may have to get this target pool together. Maybe I'll take the lead on it.
It doesn't have to be that. I mean, CAS consists of 300. You know, I know a lot could be said about CAS too, but CAS has a pool of 300. Is that right, John?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, you're not supposed to know that. I guess it wouldn't matter.
And you front load that they're landscapes, right?
Well, you front load that they're outdoor scenes, urban and rural.
Mm-hmm.
No life forms.
Right. Which is tempting.
It's a very narrow pool.
Mm-hmm.
But all the images are art pieces.
Or what?
Because they are digitally altered.
Right.
I consider them as fake now. They're not real images.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree or no?
They're real images. They're just not real locations.
Okay. Well. The
They're
fact
photoshopped.
the fact that it's Photoshop becomes an art piece now.
So you can't travel there. You can't actually go to the target.
Well, you can travel there, right?
Yeah, I think
ignore the people.
not all of them have been photoshopped, and the ones that have, they're real places, but they've just been modified. So I would maintain that, yes, they're images, literally images, but they're not the actual locations as you would see them if you went there.
My friend would draw the people back in.
No, with CAS it even goes a step further. There's no distortion in the lens. For example, you couldn't use a wide angle or a fisheye lens to distort what was actually there. I think that's part of the.
Also, as part of it, is that you don't have mismatched sizes. You don't have food on the one hand and Mount Everest on the other. And to me, that's very important, actually, in ARV. But others may feel differently.
Yeah, I agree.
I do. I feel differently about any of the limitations you guys are putting on yourselves. That's how I feel. Really, I do.
Well, there's a whole other viewpoint which some of us have mentioned, namely that, when we can afford it, not now, but when we can afford it, there's no reason that we shouldn't have research showing us that if we want to make really accurate predictions, we're going to take into account each viewer's strengths and weaknesses. Because I think each viewer does have strengths and weaknesses, and it's something that's been neglected in the field for 17 years, except for Lynn Buchanan's database, which is not visible. We can't find it, see what's in it. and hardly anybody really gives any evidence of what's in it. So
I'm sure
I
Lynn,
disagree with Marty on this point
I
of view.
understand, and I have great, and you have to realize part of this is I want people to continually get better. What they now consider their weakness is an opportunity to, in fact, get better on that. Again, that's the long-term perspective. However, I also am a great believer in making it as easy as possible to get a hit. I'm not challenging them just to challenge them.
Right.
That's why I want to improve the target pool. I would love, again, when we get this institute going, to go into Lynn Buchanan's database and see how stable it is. You know, go during the first half in time, and those people that were great in colors, see if they remain great in colors forever. Or do they pick up other characteristics? I mean, there's so much that we can be doing.
Absolutely.
And the question is, do you want to combine the idea that we should give people hard targets that they don't like so they can get better, while at the same time they're losing thousands of dollars of potential winnings in Firefly?
And we don't. No.
Because they don't relate to a fish. You know?
That's right. What we want to do is put together what we think is the best target pool for the most people most of the time. You know, and they're going to get some targets they don't like. But that's one of the reasons we also are playing up this whole idea of consensus, because somebody else is going to get just the right target for them.
Yeah.
And,
hey Marty, I just popped a link into the question box there, and that has 2,700 random images in a zip file. So
yep, I see it.
That's the basis of that virtual host media thing.
Can you share that link, Marty?
Yeah, I'm getting it now, and I can put it here, and this should go to everybody, right? That's the zip file.
That's a zip file. It has just the images in it, and then this link here is just the little PHP chooser, which is good if you want a quick F5 through pairs randomly until you find one that's nice.
I didn't see the link.
The first one I see. The second link I just pasted, still in the question window. So Marty, you'll have to copy that one up and out.
Yeah, I don't see it in the question window.
I see the zip one in the question window. Just scroll down. I shared that with everybody except us.
Right, and then
For some reason we don't
PHP
get
link.
And then I'll do the PHP one
there we
too.
go. I had to sort by time. Sort by the received time. Right.
Here's a PHP one. It turns out we have a hard time for some reason as organizers getting these links. It's going out. Oh, wait. What happens if I do it this way?
There it is.
Now I see it. Okay. As opposed to questions.
Yeah.
But now you get it also.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. We really have learned from this, Scott.
What is it? What's the moral of that story?
When I copy and paste it from the questions, when I want to get everybody to see it, I paste it into the chat box, not the send to all box. You and I do not see the send to all box.
All right.
But yeah, I personally haven't seen a whole lot of. I've had targets that were very, what I would call difficult, like a brick wall where you got an array of squares, and I think the other one was sliced fruit flat on like a photo table. So you had an array of circles and an array of squares, and that was the only difference between them.
Right.
And Subby came up with some guy carrying a brick. So that's how that one actually transpired into a hit. So, I mean, I got to look at that and say, all right, well, Sub's somewhat creative.
Well, you know that geometry is one of the biggies that you tend to pick up first. So I guess that was put in there, and I don't know who put it in. Probably one of Mark's. I don't think I have one like that. But the idea that you pick up geometry is well known. I mean, that's one of the things you do pick up. So I guess someone thought it would be all, somebody would get the square aspect of it and hard and a few things like that. But I think we have learned that viewers like things to be more interesting. If I had to say the one thing which I would do now is add that to the list, that it should be interesting. I saw a comment recently someplace where someone said, it might have been Deborah Katz, I mean, I've just spent half an hour of my life remote viewing blah, 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 I don't remember what it was, but it was, you know, maybe an apple on a plate, you know, fruit, sort of the thing Chris said. And it isn't that they couldn't do it in principle, but the subconscious mind maybe didn't want to. Now, is that interesting or is that not interesting, what I'm looking at here? You know, and different people would say different things. Some people like food. I can almost smell that sandwich.
Well, it is lunchtime after all.
And so, you know, everybody is a bit different.
So what you're saying, guys, Marty, is like Mount Everest could be a plate of mashed potatoes if you connect it right.
That's true. It's true.
And yet, in spite of all of this, you know what, guys? I mean, all the things we've been talking about have been going on in the past. We're well over 60% most of the time. So,
but
all we're going to do is get better with it.
One quick question for you,
yeah,
because we're talking about the database kind of indirectly. I know you've mentioned the Institute. How long range is that, and is there an interim step? I mean, is it time to start, you know, having people pay a tiny membership fee to help get some of this stuff done? I mean, because these are critical things that we need in order to get the kind of information out of the database that is there, I'm sure, but, you know, just getting it out.
Wow. Oh, Teresa, I hate it when you ask such a right-on question. I mean, you know, there's been something special about everything being volunteer and not having anybody who gets paid. I mean, nobody in app has ever got paid. Do we start having a membership fee? We've talked about it, and I don't know, the consensus has been yes, but how do we make, how much? How much? I mean, I think that's what you're saying. Let's charge a membership fee, we can get some money, and then we can actually hire people to do these important things. Isn't that what you were saying?
Yeah, and of course it gets to the thing, how much would you really need, because it would have to be someone who understood what we're doing, and that becomes an issue.
Well, but you see, you get to the point where if you're even hiring one person to work this half-time, you're now talking a lot of money. You're talking, you have to be in a position of getting tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. My dream, and I'll give it to you again, but I'll explain why. The dream is to make the money in ARV, in app. App is going to be an investor in Firefly. Okay, Chris and I have already talked about this. App is going to be an investor in Firefly. Imagine if App, which is, okay, makes $1 million.
Right.
Now we've got an institute. Now we can hire people. And App can continue to make money doing things like Firefly, investing in its own group, that sort of thing. So that is the dream. As soon as we get down to trying to do it from membership fees and stuff like that, when you get enough money to be able to do it, or even our conferences. I mean, if we were to charge twice as much for the conference, guess what? We could make money, but would people come? Would you be willing to pay twice as much?
No.
So
well,
those.
There's some issues. I just was wondering because, I mean, if it was something finite, you know, it might be doable. I don't know. I've just been wondering it for a while because the database is so crucial, and you know, it always has been, and it's not something you can really do very easily, part-time or volunteer or anything like that, in my opinion. I mean, just from the people that I've worked with professionally, you know, it's not so easy.
Come on, I agree. You know, I'm the one who's doing it now, and it takes a lot of time. And like what's going on right now is stuff which I haven't done any work on the database for a long time. So I understand your point. I don't know an answer, and it is something we should think about again. Alexis has several times said we should start charging a membership fee.
I think what we could do is do it in a voluntary basis. I've been doing research on how, I don't know if you guys are aware of streamers, like people who basically make money through advertisement just by people watching what they're doing. Basically, they're playing video games and they're making revenue because people watch them play video games.
Okay.
So one of their model to make money is basically based on donations. So it's a donation based, and that's how they sort of survives, is just basically through donations. We could probably do something like that, but I would be totally against hiking up the price for conferences, or I'd even be, I don't even know how much. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I am too, because we want to reach lots and lots of people. That's why, where do you set the membership fee level? I mean, you know, Irva and a lot of other places set it at $25, $35, and maybe we can do that. But it won't bring in enough money to substantially change anything.
Right.
Not quickly, but I don't know. I mean, the writing databases that I use a lot, you know, they all have a free component that you can use, but they also have a paid component. You know, if you want a little more bells and whistles so that you can track more stuff and really delve into your personal stuff, then you have to pay a little bit more, and it's not much. I mean, we're talking $25 to $50, but it's still something, and it's something that over time might make a difference.
Well, let me tell you the idea that fits with that. What we have now is active people get to see everybody's
predictions.
Now, maybe what we should do is charge to see everybody else's predictions, or charge a tiered amount based on how much you want to see everybody else's predictions, and get access to the database and things like that. And maybe we can do that. I mean, I think that's the closest idea, at least that resonates with me in terms of bringing in extra revenue.
What about, well, we don't really, well, one other thing we can do is probably, do we have any people who are like super rich and then they'd just be willing to sponsor us? I mean, that's one other way. Yes, financially. I mean, because we've got people who are pretty legit, and I'm assuming that some of them are like hella rich, and they'd be willing to, you know, sponsor us. Like, hey, we need someone to do this databasing, and it's gonna cost us $40K. Would you be willing to sponsor us, kind of thing? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's going after contract money. It's tough. I mean, if somebody wanted to go out and do that, they could certainly do it. I would be happy to accept that kind of money. You know, you put together a proposal. You know, Deborah Katz is going to an organization that gives out contracts for work in this field, and maybe they would. I mean, I can see a proposal being put out where the net result would be a really good operating database that you could get into, and that would then, you know, they would put in $50,000, but the product would be a database not only on the past data, but it would then be maintained, and so it could be used forever. And I could see where there might be somebody who's willing to do that, but, you know, you have to write a proposal to those people. In fact, Deborah Katz probably knows those people because she goes out after that kind of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like some of the bigger organizations like IONS or even Irvin, I mean, at some point it seems like they ought to be funding something like that.
Yeah, ions is a possibility, and hey, we've got Dean Radin with us, so, but somebody has to take the time to write a proposal and do all that.
I asked Ed May about this, and I said, "Look, you're in Silicon Valley. There's all this venture capital. And his viewpoint was that they've tried to tap everything they could there, and they haven't been successful. There just isn't money for research, even for him. Now, maybe Dean Radin, could lend us a hand in that regard. I don't know, but it's a tough road to hoe.
Right. My suggestion for now is, let's make it on Firefly. Seriously.
I agree.
If Firefly is even remotely successful, then we will draw the attention we need, and we can, devise a new game plan on approaching that.
That's right.
But we will get a lot of attention.
Right.
Which is right. Amen. Okay, I'd like to suggest, unless there's some other questions or whatever, that we terminate this now. It's over 2 hours.
Yeah, I got one quick question, Marty.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
You were just mentioning that like the predictions of all the different groups are available somewhere. Where is that? Is that online somewhere? Or?
No, that's what the database would do to make it easily accessible. But Mark and people like that have done it in a hard way by going back to the discussion groups themselves. We have this place where all the predictions are listed, and so you can get it in a very disorganized fashion now. But the idea is to put it together in a real database that you could make quick queries and get different answers.
If you're asking about where are all these predictions?
Yes.
It's reserved for people who are actively participating, or GMs.
So it comes to the AD discussion group?
No, there's a predictions distribution list. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I guess that's it. I've never seen that page, so that's what I was actually looking for.
Right, it's
Oh, okay.
For active members.
Yeah, how active have you been? And we're going to be reviewing that in the context of Firefly. If people who have not been active by past definitions go into Firefly, I think we will give them access to that whole list. We want people to become active in Firefly. Yeah, this is the rules, right? Here's what we have now.
So
we don't want to give it to everybody, so we decided active members.
Gotcha. So I haven't been here 3 months, so that's why.
Oh, right.
Right, but if you become active in Firefly, I'm going to recommend we do, in fact, allow you to have that, because you're going to be making a long-term commitment, to do a certain number per month, and do it with the high integrity and high commitment and high intention, etc. Okay, I've got to go, guys.
Great, thanks so much.
Yeah.
We think we're done, or do you want to keep it up?
We can close it out.
I think we're done. Okay. Okay, and I will take this recording. Just everything goes in unedited, but I've learned to go fast forward through lots of YouTube things, and so people will do that with this as well.
Okay, great.
So all of you guys, thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Marty.
Yep.
Thanks. Ciao.
Precoggan.
Thanks, everybody.
Right. Okay. Bye now.